Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's second Xbox Factor podcast. I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have one heck of a show prepared for you today. We have a special guest that you obviously saw on Tuesday's episode. I love it, Joe. That's fantastic. But listen, folks, this is going to be a great show. Listen, I've been getting a lot of DMs. I've been getting a lot of people asking, what is Double Barrel Gaming doing for the Xbox show on Sunday, June 13th? It has come to my understanding that it's going to be going live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be doing a live stream / watch party. The show is 90 minutes, and then we're going to then continue the podcast for 30 minutes for a reaction panel, and we're going to give it our grade. And then obviously it's something that we're going to continue to touch on that week. But yes, we will be doing a live streams where you can come to this channel and watch it live with us, and we can all share the same reactions. The panel is kind of up in the air right now because a lot of people obviously going to be doing stuff for their channel. So I'm trying to put a panel together, and I will confirm that in the coming weeks of who is going to be a part of it. But let's get into the introductions, and we'll start first with our special guest, Josh. It seems that you're becoming a permanent fixture here, brother. You were here on Tuesday, you knocked it out of the park, and here you are. You're back again. Welcome.
You keep telling me to leave, and I just keep showing up. I've hacked my way in here. So
I love it.
No, thanks for having me. I love being here. I love chatting Xbox, and I love seeing all the beautiful people. So.
Well, it's great to have you back, brother. And obviously, you guys are going to be treated to some Dirt 5 gameplay in the background, as well as some single-player campaign for Titanfall, two of my favorite games that I've been playing recently. I just can't stop playing, so obviously I recorded. But let's continue with the introductions, and we're going to start with Jim Ryan. Now, Jim, I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
To get you here on today's show is very big for a very small program, but you're the head of Sony, and you're on an Xbox. You're on an Xbox centric show. I don't even know what to say.
I mean, what is there to say? Jim Ryan, of course.
I love it.
Listen, I usually don't understand why people do all the like they'll have like an icon of like Phil Spencer or like Shuei Yoshida as their profile pics or banners. I always think it's very weird and unsettling. But now, after seeing these pictures, I completely get it. It's amazing.
It is a good laugh. Joe, how the heck are you, brother? How you feeling?
Oh my goodness, dude. I'm doing fantastic. Honest to God, those memes last night of just Jim Ryan in an investor call with headsets, and they're putting them in like photoshopping them in like Sea of Thieves streams and stuff. It's the funniest thing. And it will never go away.
No.
Like that's a thing that's gonna be cemented. But honest to goodness, what a day to be on, because there is so much to talk about, so much to celebrate, whether you're a PlayStation fan with Horizon, things to boo if you're a PlayStation fan when it comes to Borderlands, things to be excited for if you're an Xbox fan in terms of E3. So I'm just excited to talk games with everybody today.
Well, it's great to have you here, brother. And I really have to say, some of the unique perspectives with these memes that people are doing, you can tell that the community is very creative, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, dude. So good.
Yeah,
so good.
Listen, let's go next to Archimedes. Hey, man, how the heck are you, brother? I'm glad that you're back. You're obviously you're feeling well. We got confirmation of the Xbox show. Everyone who's anyone is going to be watching. How you feeling there, Boxer Bear?
Yeah, thanks. I'm feeling fine. I'm super excited actually that we have finally a date, something to look forward to. Exciting times to be a gamer. Exciting times to be on the Xbox Factor podcast. I mean, we say it every week that we have awesome topics to talk about, but today we have really something that a lot of topics that I can't wait to discuss with all of you, and it's always a pleasure to discuss games with Joe, with VJ, with you, of course, Boom, and it's a pleasure to meet Josh for the first time. So nice meeting you, and let's have a fantastic show here.
Yes, and definitely appreciate you being here, brother. You're definitely a huge part of this show, and it's great to have you back full time. And of course, more importantly than anything, there, Boxer Bear, healthy, and last and no way least, the linguist, the man with the biggest brain, the guy that keeps this show running, who basically took over the cog turning perspective from Zemi Games when he left this show. VJ, how the heck are you, brother?
I'm good, thanks, Boom. Thanks for the intro, and I just concur with Archimedes. Actually, the show topics and the notes are fantastic as always, Boom. So I think a lot of credit has to go to you, and I can't wait to get stuck into it.
Well, listen, we're going to open up with the big news that happened yesterday. On the official Xbox Wire page, they released a press release concerning the E3 event for Xbox and Bethesda. So I'm going to read, if you missed out on it, directly from the press release, and then we'll discuss it, and then we'll get with the near 200 people already here and find out what they are expecting. And it said this. Today, we are thrilled to announce that the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase will stream on Sunday, June 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Of course, that is 1 p.m. here in the New York side of the country. The show will be focused on games from Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and many game creators from our partners around the world. You told us how excited you were about welcoming Bethesda into the Xbox family, so we're going to go. So we know you're going to want to get a front row seat to the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. It will be a 90-minute show packed with everything you want to know about the Epic Gaming lineup coming out of this partnership, the incredible games coming to Xbox this holiday, upcoming releases, and Xbox Game Pass, and more. You'll be able to watch Xbox and the Bethesda Game Show in a variety of ways. Be sure to visit any of the links below before the show starts, and you can watch it on Twitch TV, YouTube.com, Twitter.com, and of course, Facebook.com. It finishes off by saying, "We miss being able to see our fans and celebrate in person, so we will be hosting a digital Xbox Fan Fest event this year. Sign up at xboxfanfest.com for more information. Mark your calendars for Sunday, June 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll see you there." Joe, I want to go to you first on this, brother. Okay, now it did not reveal a lot of information, right? It told us the time. It told us that we're going to see what their lineup for the holiday is going to be. It told us we're going to see some future games. I don't know how far into the future. What are you expecting? And I'm going to be honest with you. Is 90 minutes enough to showcase two huge entities like Xbox and now Bethesda? You're muted, Joe. There you go.
I'm sorry, the essence of Jim Ryan still lives on. We were talking about this before the show of what is exactly, 90 minutes. What can they show? What will they show? With Halo and Starfield, assuming that those games, Halo is assumed this fall. Starfield, the reports are out, whatever it is, it's coming later in 2022, so not the beginning half. So to me, if it's the beginning half of 2022, we're going to see a lot of Starfield stuff, like about 10 minutes of it. If it's late 2022 stuff, we're going to see a trailer of that game, a trailer of what's to come from them. Bethesda's a pretty big question mark because they're also doing stuff for Ghostwire, where they're also doing stuff for Deathloop. Now, this being an Xbox show, we could kind of count those games out, and then we kind of think, well, maybe the tease of, Indiana Jones, whatever Machine Games is working on with Wolfenstein. Huh? Did I do it?
You're getting there.
Very nice.
So, maybe we see the third entry in that franchise, but it is a short time. If they're getting equal time, it's like 45 minutes a pop. So I'm actually kind of excited in the sense that whatever Xbox has to show us has to be meaningful, impactful, and it has to be soon, right? So that really does mean that they have to be a lot more concise, that the games that they're coming out with have to be in in a year, maybe year and a half time.
Yeah, 18 months, give or take. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Joe. It's a good call.
Yeah, so whatever they are showing us, I'm assuming we're going to see like Forza there as well. We're going to probably see something that is close to a year out. So I don't know if we're going to see games like Avowed there or State of Decay 3 or whatever we saw from last showcase, but what they are going to show us is probably things that are sooner rather than later. So it is a big mystery for me because honestly, like, how do you fill in time if, like, you know, we saw like a person from EA also like give the like wide-eyed like look, like how do you squeeze in things from your third-party partners, things from your first party, and then things from Bethesda in 90 minutes. So I definitely think we're going to see games like Battlefield there. We're definitely going to see whatever, like, you know, Bethesda's working on, or even like Scarlet Nexus or whatnot. But I hope this really does put people's perspectives in check, because I feel like a lot of folks in the past week have been trying to set expectations for this event. In ways that we've normally not done for Xbox, and we kind of get ahead of ourselves, and then sometimes they may be underperformed in our eyes. So it's really interesting to see people try to set expectations for what this show is and talk about how it's more of a partnership between Xbox and Bethesda than anything. So hopefully, you know, like, I really don't expect, you know, what's the game? Joanna Dark, Perfect Dark. There you go. Like, I don't expect like Perfect Dark to make its appearance there. Maybe, probably what Compulsion's working on. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Probably is going to be there. They've been teasing that as well. So to me, it's things that are coming sooner rather than later. And that's what Xbox needs right now, because what Sony lacks in services at the moment, Xbox lacks in the exclusive department. Right now, stop yelling at me, chat. I already see click clacking. Knock it off. And so that's, I think, the way that Microsoft fills in that gap. Most important thing for me to see is absolutely 100% Halo.
Yes,
Halo's gonna shine.
Yeah, Halo is good. Some people have been saying in the community, Joe, Halo has to deliver, and they're right. Mm-hmm. But yeah. I want to change the wording that I think Halo will deliver. I think that they're going to put their best foot forward. I think we're going to be incredibly impressed with gameplay mechanics that we saw on display last July. And I think those amazing fun mechanics that we enjoyed, that everyone walked away and said, yeah, that Halo game looked fun to play. It looked like you're going to be able to do a lot of things, is going to have matching graphics. And we're going to walk away and say, you know what? November 15th cannot come quick enough.
Yeah, it doesn't have to solve global warming. It has to do something maybe even more impossible. Please hardcore fans, and then also please the general audience. Because again, we still see those posts. I still see them, how annoying they are, of how divided the Halo community is on things like Sprint.
It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
but I agree. So like that's what it needs to do, and I think you're right, and it needs the time. Like, I would like to see at least 10 minutes of Halo there. That is a game that they need to sell. Like, that's a game that they need to push this holiday. It's more important than anything they show, even Starfield. This is the thing that's going to set the expectation, and what we always like to say, the narrative, change the narrative that Microsoft can not just provide on a service levels, but provide in the way of
in the game,
in their game perspective. Absolutely. We're already seeing people say, hey, I was PlayStation 4 this generation, Game Pass is pulling me, and that's not with a killer app, right?
Yeah,
like that is just with it, the service itself. Now when you start getting those killer apps, that conversation is going to change very quick. So yeah, that's what Microsoft needs to do, and I'm very, very excited to see what they're gonna provide for us.
Yeah, that makes both of us. Let's get to Archimedes. Archimedes, look, this is just before this announcement, the day on Tuesday, Josh and I and the rest of the Zemi and Pong, we weren't sure what to expect. Was it a 3-hour show, which of course we all would have loved, or is it a 2-hour show? Do they each get an hour? No one actually knew. But now we have confirmation of 90 minutes, and because this is a controlled event, because this is an event that Microsoft is probably working on as we're doing this show. Like they're probably putting the final touches on going on stage. It's a closed event. No leaks should happen because it's a controlled event out of Seattle, where Microsoft's base is. What is 90 minutes enough for you, in your opinion, to sell the Xbox community hardcore, but more importantly, the potential new customers hope for the Xbox brand?
Yeah, that depends on how you use the 90 minutes. I have so much to say on that. So if I'm going too long, just stop me.
No. Listen, this is a conversational podcast, brother. Go crazy.
Sure, and please feel free to interrupt me anytime, because I want to start first with the actual title of that show. I was a little bit surprised here because they call it the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase. That's kind of weird to me, because it on the one side it implicates that that it's still these are two entities, yeah. But on the other hand, of course, you're obviously showing we are one team now. So I just found that really interesting, and was one of the first things that popped into my head when I have seen that that advertisement of the show. Yeah, and then I read the article on Xbox Wire, and I was also thinking 90 minutes. Usually we had a 2-hour Xbox show at E3, around about 2 hours plus minus, of course, and 1.5 hours of a Bethesda show. So that makes 3.5 hours that are now squeezed into 90 minutes. But then on the other hand, these purely digital events have a different pacing than a stage show. Yeah, you don't get the cheering, you don't get your breathtaking moments. You don't have those kind of things. It's trailer, then you see someone talking to the camera, trailer, and so on. So the pacing is definitely different. And it's funny how you asked the question, is 90 minutes enough? I was on another podcast, shout out to the Midweek Mix-Up podcast yesterday, and I was asked, what do I think Microsoft should do to make this event a success? And it's kind of similar, because you can have a super successful show if you do the perfectly right things in 60 minutes, and you can have a crappy show in 2.5 hours if you do just boring stuff. We remember the Twitch showcase, which lasted 4 hours, and you could have squeezed that into 10 minutes. Yeah,
I was about to say, I was trying to find the unmute of like, dude, like less is more. Yeah, like
exactly.
After 90 minutes, people are gonna lose interest. Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially if you don't have these live moments, if you don't get pulled into the arena. I have never been in the actual event, obviously. Yeah. Boom, you have been there. But when I watch it at home, I'm kind of getting immersed into that. I see the crowd cheering. I see all that happening. If you don't have that, 90 minutes can be long. Yeah, that's basically a movie. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to how long they are doing the show. The length isn't the thing that we should measure the quality on. The thing is, what are they going to show? And Joe already said a couple of really important things. Of course, Halo will be there. Halo will be probably 10 to, I think, even more 15 minutes. They will really show like 5, 6, 7 minutes of gameplay from the campaign. They will start with that to really blow us away, hopefully, with the visuals and set the scope for what this game is. Explain a little bit how the semi-open world now works in a Halo game. They will, of course, pay a little bit attention and introduce us to the story. They will tease us there. So for that alone, you need now, if I'm saying it like that, you need 10 minutes for that. And then
at least 10 minutes if you want to do a good showing. Yeah.
And then you have to announce and show the multiplayer. Yeah, and I bet that they will, I've said that before, yeah, I bet that they will announce a beta, but to show the multiplayer and announce a beta for the summer, you kind of need another 5 minutes at least. So in total, let's say 15 minutes for Halo, which is already quite a bit if you consider a 90-minute show. Then you have the Bethesda things. If we say, we all assume Starfield will be there. it's kind of hinted at that logo poster. There is the same planet with that halo, that the corona around it. It's if you could ask me, it is more or less that tease already in there. There will be Starfield, another huge game. This is going to be a 100-hour plus game that we were going to play, and either this fall or in spring, doesn't matter. But when you show that game, you have to properly introduce it. They cannot introduce that game with a 2-minute CGI trailer. That's not going to happen. They have to show that also with gameplay, explain a little bit what makes that new franchise special, introduce the lore, introduce the world, everything, the mechanics a little bit. 10 minutes gone easily. Then Bethesda needs to have something else. They are not going into that showcase with just one game. They had usually their own E3 conference, which meant like at least 2 big bangers and then 2 or 3 AA games like Deathloop and Ghostwire. Those obviously, I agree here with Joe, they won't be there. So they will have one other bigger game to announce. That is coming out over the course of the next, let's say, 12 months. And in my opinion, that's going to be Wolfenstein. But I think we will talk about our Wolfenstein expectations a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, you have like Starfield, Wolfenstein together like 20 minutes easily. So if we add that up to our already 15 minutes from Halo, we are already above 35 minutes. And you have a little bit of talking in there, of course, in between a couple of trailers. You have Phil Spencer will be there. I bet Matt Booty will be there. Sarah Bond probably will have their segment. Easily another 10 minutes gone. And then you have the third party announcements. That will be there, 15 to 20 minutes at least. Then you will have a couple of smaller AA games in there. And here comes my thing, and this is what I'm really hoping. Like games like, of course, Scorn, The Gang, Crossfire, The Ascent, all these kind of games that will come out, Psychonauts 2, and so on. I'm hoping they are not getting too much focus. And I'm not saying that because I'm not excited for those games.
I have a theory though. If you don't mind, I just want to jump in. I have a theory here, folks. Everyone has brought up some incredible points, and many of the points that I've been reading, through the DMs that I'm getting through social media, from Instagram, from Facebook, you name it, wherever I'm getting messages from people. We keep forgetting that it's not just E3 to contend with anymore. And I think that the solution is right in front of us, and no one has mentioned it. So I'm happy to be the one to do that. Jeff Keighley is having his event on the 10th. And I think that a lot of the games that you just mentioned are going to be there getting the spotlight, but still getting the coverage they deserve.
That's actually quite a good theory, and I'm hoping you are right. Because not only do I have to say, I have kind of seen enough, for example, from The Ascent, and we are getting more or less on a daily basis now trailers for Psychonauts 2 from the Game Informer coverage and so on.
Yes, which looks amazing, yes.
It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited for those games. But on the one hand, they are coming out really close to E3. I have seen quite a lot already. And if they are in the show, in the big show, in the E3 show, they will be overshadowed by the Halo and by the Starfield. So it's really not that I'm not excited for those games. I just think if you have a 90-minute show, be careful what you do. Because, and now comes my big point, because so that the general public considers this E3 showcase a success, Xbox has to show 3 to 5 big bangers with gameplay. And I'm not talking about a game like Gunk or The Gunk or Scorn or even Crossfire. It's made from Remedy, but it doesn't pack the same punch like a Hellblade or a Fable. And Xbox has to show 3 to 5 of those games. Show us Fable gameplay, Hellblade gameplay, knock us out of our socks. This is what they have to do.
Oh, you're not seeing Hellblade gameplay.
I wouldn't bet on that.
Just got their creative director.
See, I could
Like-
say no. Yeah, I get that. On the other hand, the game is like 4 years in development, and I'm repeating myself here. I've said
I
it
put
so
it to
many
you this,
times.
you know what? I agree with Archimedes here.
Yeah.
The game is 4 years in development, and listen, folks, it could be more. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how far
Yeah.
into development they were before Microsoft bought them, because from what we understand, and this is folks, this isn't a boomstick suggestion. This is a proven fact. Many of the studios that Microsoft purchased going from 2018 moving forward, they bought on the promise they could deliver on something that they saw that the team was working on.
Yeah.
Okay, every one of listen, Obsidian was working on Avowed.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's like, we got to get them. Hellblade went out, it released. They were working on Hellblade 2. They knew they wanted a sequel, and they probably pitched that when they were approached by Microsoft. Yeah, let's get going. So I agree with you. I actually look. I understand people COVID. If anyone understands that more than me, then you're a better person than I am. I understand it has impacted the industry in a way that no one ever saw coming. But to put a 3-minute gameplay trailer together, I don't think is that hard of a deal. I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree here 100%. It is funny. I have discussed that in another podcast. Sorry for referencing a couple of other podcasts here.
No, it's okay. No, please, by all means,
with
reference them
Chris
because,
Granell. He used to be a developer for PlayStation. He worked on games like Killzone and Horizon Zero Dawn. So, and I asked him, look at Fable. We had a discussion about Fable. Fable is, we know, at least 4.5 years in development. And after 4.5 years, even if you take out 1 year from COVID where the progress was really slow, you have to have something to show. Otherwise, your game is there's something wrong. And he agreed with me. He really had to laugh out loud. Of course, there's got to be something there. The question really is, do you want to show that? And now here comes my thinking. Microsoft has so many big bangers in the making that we know of. Would it hurt them to show like 3 games that are not Halo and Fable? Pardon me, Halo and Forza.
No,
because
it
even
would not.
If they show a Forza Horizon 5, I'm excited to see it. It's gonna be a gorgeous game, but it's again Halo and Forza. That's what we always say, and this is what you need to do. What they should do. They should show us 3 games. Big bangers: Avowed, Fable, Perfect Dark, Hellblade. They have so many in the making that they could potentially show. Give us 3 of them, save the others for other shows later, either later this year or next year. There will be so many gaming shows. There will be Gamescom. There will be the Game Awards. Then you can show other things. But give us here right now 3 big bangers with gameplay. 2-3-minute gameplay is enough to get us excited. And here's the thing why this is so important, and this is my last point before I let the others talk. Xbox really needs to show now a reason why people should invest into the ecosystem. This is what Sony has done so well, like forever. When the PlayStation 5 launched, we have seen gameplay for Gran Turismo, Ratchet and Clank, and so on, Demon's Souls. We have seen them. We knew that in 2021, PlayStation gamers can expect Gran Turismo, Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, Horizon, and God of War. Admittedly, now Gran Turismo got delayed to 2022, but still, we had an idea of what is coming next year. What can I expect in 2022? What is Xbox cooking up, and why should I invest $500 now in the ecosystem?
So basically, what you're saying is to pull a Sony and sell hope.
That's
what I keep saying. Yes,
and the waiting game is for me kind of over.
I agree.
We knew that we have to wait in 2018 when they announced the acquisition of all these studios. We knew that we have to wait. We are now 3 years later, it's time to at least show us some of the games that you are working on with gameplay and leave those CGI trailers out. You can do a CGI trailer for a game that is coming out in 2023 or 2024. That's okay. But the games that are coming over the next 18 months, you can show with gameplay. And this is exactly what Xbox should do, in my opinion.
I love it. Real quick, you mentioned a particular ex-Sony developer. Folks, I've been in touch with Chris. Chris and I have been talking behind the scenes, and guess what? Chris Grinnell, ex-Sony developer, will be joining me and the Primetime Gaming crew this Monday evening to talk everything gaming. And obviously, he's in the UK, and when we go live, it's 8 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's 1 a.m. And I asked him, I said, "You sure you want to do it?" He said, "Yes, I want to be there." So that's right, Chris Grinnell, ex-Sony developer. He will be on this Monday evening's Primetime Gaming. I cannot wait to talk. Yeah, absolutely great guy. I've heard him on RDX numerous times, and a very smart dude, and cannot wait to talk about what's been going on. But great stuff as always, and of course, weren't long-winded at all. As a matter of fact, I was hoping for more. Let's get VJ in on the conversation now. VJ, because you have covered games from you've basically from you're a triple threat at this point, because not only have you covered gaming from a podcaster's perspective, but you have been in the gaming scope and scale through both retail and in development. For you, in your personal and professional opinion, is 90 minutes enough to sell hope for the remainder of 21 and what's coming in 22?
I don't know about professional, Boom. I'll do my best, though. I mean, look, if Xbox released a professionally edited 2-minute Indiana Jones trailer, right? Or something else, right, from a plethora of unannounced IPs, which they've kind of hinted at as well, I think, you could easily discuss it on a Boom E3 special episode for 2 hours, right? So given that, the Xbox Bethesda showcase being a 90-minute affair, I have to be honest with you and say the time frame is not my concern. I hope, as I've said before, that there's no filler and no sort of long drawn-out, cheesy or monochromatic sort of scripted banter or dialogue between Xbox executives and devs, right? That just all needs to go, right? I want to see, and I think I said it last week, less pre-rendered concept trailers paraded as future promise. I think Sony have shown with the last 4 to 6 releases, more so with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, they are somewhat veering away from this strategy. So on June 13th, is that the date of the show? For 90 minutes,
yes.
Xbox just need to get down to business, Boom. Isn't that what we've been waiting for? And
indeed, we certainly have.
Yeah, and I know and it's not just recently. We've been talking about this since the launch of, since the Game Awards announcement, right, of the Series X when Phil came up on stage. So, and I've also heard people mention, right, XYZ Studio has been working on a game for 3 years, 4 years, and so on and so forth. And what I would say, these teams, I like them. They're smaller. They're smarter and they're more efficient. I'd ask any developer in the world, right? And time is more important and valuable than personnel. And Unreal Engine 5, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Sorry, my short-term memory's just disappearing at the moment.
Yeah, yesterday.
And UE5 is only available in a sort of a beta mode right now, right? Early access or whatever. And the full release of that product is early next year when it was supposed to be the end of this year. And even though,
but pardon me for interrupting,
yeah, sure.
Because it is available to a lot of developers earlier. They have it already. It's now just for the general public in early access. But there are certain studios that have
absolutely. And you know what?
early.
I have no issue with that whatsoever, because Epic have been known to, when they launch their game engine, they always have a handful of releases, right, that coincide with the launch of the actual engine, right, to showcase what it can actually do, right, and obviously the long-term benefits. So I'm completely aware of that, but there's far more developers out there, right, using these kind of this particular engine, right. I think a lot of the others have kind of fallen by the wayside. No disrespect to them whatsoever, right. UE5 is an all-encompassing tool, right, that can help deliver the best that your imagination can derive, right. And even though I've seen, Epic say, all right, you can easily transfer, all of your UE4 projects transfer them over to UE5. Yet most devs have many custom tools or customized engines, right, which I don't think are as easy to transfer. Work is always involved. So just take all of that into consideration when we're pining for a lot of content, right? It's just something to sort of dovetail into our thought process. Look, as I say, it's all about the quality presented and in the time allocated. And Xbox have the opportunity to carefully curate and author their own success or failure. And optimistically speaking, Boom, and I've said this before, and I always say it before a show, and I always end up with egg on my face sometimes, I'm leaning heavily towards a very successful show, and I can't wait to cover it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, again, and I who else? I think I was talking to Pong Soul. First of all, mention of Pong Soul. It's his birthday today. He's in the chat.
Happy
So
birthday.
Pong Soul, happy birthday, brother. You're 1 year older, closer to my age. So now we're definitely brothers from another for sure. But happy birthday, brother. It's great to work with you on a weekly basis. And consider you someone to be not even just a co-host, but a brother. And I want to wish you a fantastic birthday. Hopefully you enjoy the heck out of your day. And I agree with you. I have seen people, Jeff Grubb, friend of the show, who we've had on Primetime Gaming, and has agreed that he's going to come back right after E3 to kind of break down everything. So I cannot wait to sit down with Jeff again. Made some statements that everyone was getting a little bent out of shape about. And he said it's going to be a good show. He doesn't know if it's going to be a great show. Listen, that really isn't the eye of the beholder, because I'll put it to you this way. My before we get to Josh's opinion on this 90-minute show, last year's July event, people walked away. I got to be honest with you. I would have to check your gamer card if you walked away disappointed. They showed off a lot. Now, granted, CG trailer or not, Sony does that on a regular basis, and they're heralded as the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I was very happy, and I've said this before, Joe, and I think Joe agreed. If Halo would have hit, if Halo Infinite would have been everything that we wanted, then that's the best show they've ever put on, right? So if they can duplicate that kind of tenacity with new announcements and give us a banging Halo gameplay trailer, I think it's an absolute B+ out of the gate, in my opinion. But of course, we're going to have to watch the show and we will judge it accordingly. But Josh, I want to get your opinion on this now. You've heard everyone so far. I think 90 minutes is enough. There's a lot of people in the chat that are saying anything over 90 minutes might be a little bit too long in the tooth. And of course, VJ actually just really broke down, you can put several, if they put, let's say, for instance, 10 new titles that were 2 to 3 minutes of gameplay coverage or video or a trailer, if they're 2 to 3 minutes, you still have 60 minutes left for the rest of your show. I think they can pull it off. What is 90 minutes enough for you?
90 minutes is going to be more than enough. And I think we've seen both Sony and Xbox look at what Nintendo has done with their directs and how Nintendo squeezes a ton of information into,
yes, they do,
sometimes 20 minutes, right? And what it is they showcase the bigger games typically, which I think we could see happen with this 90-minute presentation. And then indie games get like kind of this shotgun blast of information, and we get to see a handful of indie titles that are going to be on their way to the Xbox, and then wrap up with some big, drop some bomb that everybody loses their mind over. And I think at that point we're all going to be satisfied. Do we need to see gameplay? Absolutely. Do they need to sell hope? Absolutely. You guys you've hit it all out of the park. The other thing that's going to take up some time is the 20th anniversary, and we talked about it on Tuesday as well.
Yes.
We're going to look at the last 20 years of what Xbox has, the impact it's
and they
had
should, Josh, they should celebrate their brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially now, right? As long as Kinect isn't mentioned, or the I think we're going to be in a really good place. And there is, I hope that we get to see, as this show started, Sonic had a presentation. The Sonic Central live stream went on,
Yeah, they
And
mentioned a lot of stuff, dude.
they're selling, or they're celebrating 30 years with Sonic. And so I mean, there's a lot of anniversaries this year within gaming,
Yeah.
and I hope Xbox really leans into that. I'm going to say it again because I love the series so much. Give me anything Crimson Skies and I'll be such a happy camper.
Well, I think we're all going to be happy, to be honest with you. Again, this was not a topic I expected that was going to take 40 minutes. But again, this is a conversational show. And, to Josh's point, I think that we all walk away. Look, I'm going to say this. Phil Spencer is probably, besides being one of the nicer guys in the industry, and that's a fact, he is as sharp as a tack, right? He understands brand loyalty. He understands diehard gamers' excitement. He understands the importance of selling hope. He understands that his mission when he took over was to get to 2 billion gamers, right? That was his goal, and he's working his way to get there. And obviously we've seen how that has transpired over the course of the last 18 to 24 months. I'm going to tell you this right now. He understands how important this show is. Now, granted, I'm not going to take and make him to be all gold. He's played it a little safe on several occasions that I wish he would not have. But of course, he's the big boss, and I'm just a stupid podcaster. So I understand that maybe his plans are much far reaching into the future than my thoughts are. So we're going to give him the nod on that. But I do want to move on to one of the next and bigger topics of today's show. And let me get to it right here on my notes. Okay, listen. With Bethesda basically being confirmed as being a part of the Microsoft press conference, meaning they're going to share the stage. Everyone is talking Starfield and how Todd Howard, or should I say for Pong's Soul, because it's your birthday, God Howard will probably and proudly be showing off his dream project in, of course, Starfield. And but this is where I think I have to agree with Archimedes, who has mentioned this numerous times. The new adventure starring Nazi-killing badass William J.B. Blazkowicz should finally be announced. And I'm absolutely sure that, let me get this right, Wolfenstein 3 will be there. And not only be there, Archimedes, it's going to be there with a gameplay trailer. And I want you to reiterate why, Archimedes, you think this is.
Actually, for multiple reasons. The first is, of course, the development time again. Every other Wolfenstein game had a 3-year development cycle, and this one has already 4 years. Yeah, okay, taking out the 1-year COVID. Okay, but so we are at that point where we usually, where the game usually should be more or less done. Now you can add a little bit of dev time, of course, because they switched from the ID6 to the ID7 engine and stuff like that. But then again, these transitions go seamless in those studios. So yeah, dev time is one of the reasons why I think after 4 years in the making, the game should be at least in a presentable state. Yeah. The other thing is, obviously, like I said earlier, Bethesda had their own conference in mind for this year. Now they are joining the conference from Xbox. They do one show together. But again, they have to kind of have at least 2 games in that show. Otherwise, you wouldn't label that show the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, because if you only have 1 game in there, you don't get the title of your publishing organization in the show name. Yeah, so there has to be more than 1 game. It could be obviously a surprise game nobody knows of. Yeah, there's this rumor out there from Arcane, that project called Omen, stuff like that could also happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I just have the feeling Wolfenstein is more or less ready. And the third reason why I think it is, we have a more or less very a rumor from a relatively reputable source that the game, that Indiana Jones went into full production in March. So since we don't know of a second team at Machine Games, we all assume that the core team at at Machine Games has moved on from Wolfenstein 3, and so this should make the game, let's say, presentable, and that's why I truly think this is going to be there, and it would be an awesome thing to see, because not a lot of people are talking about Wolfenstein, and if that game can come out, let's say spring next year, summer next year, or even earlier, that would be a real big win, to have another big AAA game coming to Game Pass over the course of the next 12 months. So I think it will be there.
And I agree. I think it has to be there in a big way. And I'm going to go crazy here. And I'm going to say that not only is it going to be there, but I think they I don't want to say they pull a Todd Howard, but I want to say that this game is going to release this year, potentially in the fall.
It's not just Todd Howard. Bethesda usually had those announcements early to their releases. Usually the games that they have shown at their E3 presser came out over the course of until the next E3. So Bethesda always had those showcases with games that are releasing really soon. It's not just the Todd Howard games, it's all the other games as well. So I remember Dishonored 2, when they announced that, came out 4 months later, or 5 months if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Stuff like that. So as you said, it's kind of the Bethesda thing to do, and let's see if Starfield, if the rumor from, I don't know who said it, it will come in spring next year. I think it was Jeff Grubb. Yeah, and Jason Schreier said it's way out. So there are so many rumors out there, I don't know anymore. But again, if Starfield comes out spring, why shouldn't this release this fall? Could be another fall game. Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, I agree, Joe. Let's get you in on the conversation here, brother. Listen, if it turns out that Starfield is nowhere to being done, or coming late 2022, another Bethesda game, an IP such as Wolfenstein, could easily, not saying it's going to overshadow something, a new IP, but certainly take the place of that October, making it still the triple head dragon that I'm saying that they're going to have for Xbox. Meaning, we know Halo is November 15th, and that's what I'm saying. They haven't officially said it, but that's the 15th, the 20th anniversary. It's going to be on the 15th, right? You get Forza in September, and then you get Wolfenstein in October, and of course, it's going to be exclusive to PC and Xbox. But again, it could fill in the gap without feeling the, oh my God, Starfield's not there, because we give them enough time to finish Starfield. What are your thoughts?
I honestly don't know what Bethesda's going to show. I don't know about Wolfenstein or where you'd put that, or if they're going to show it, simply because I think they're too. I mean, I think Ghostwire even got pushed out to 2022.
Yes,
but like their fall game, for all we know, is Deathloop. I think the Rona has affected things in a very major way, which is another reason why we should have our expectations somewhat in check here, because a lot of teams are working still remote, and remember, these vertical slices take at least 6 months to make.
Yes.
So I want to get people's perspectives just in check. I think this might be a smaller show because there's not a lot to show because of how the global pandemic's affecting us all. So, just perspective here. I'm kind of a blank slate on what Bethesda is going to show. Because honestly, I think they're going to have a heavy emphasis on Starfield. I'm going to take Jason's word a bit heavier, since he doesn't really necessarily he has a little bit more of the credibility under his belt in terms of the leaks and stuff. He's been in the leak game for a long time now, looking at all the Assassin's Creeds. So I would think later in 2022 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
and-
even if it's holiday of 2022,
Yeah.
that's fine too. Yeah, right.
Whatever Machine Games is working on, I don't know if they have multiple studios, because I understand Wolfenstein Youngblood was a collaboration project between Machine Games and Arcane. So I don't know if they have multiple teams or not. But what I would say is, whatever the reception of Youngbloods was, that probably had to change a little bit of what their ideas were with Wolfenstein 3. So I don't know if you show it there. It is though it is another first person shooter, it is thematically and artistically so much different than Halo. So I don't think that is much of a concern of why you wouldn't show it. I just want a preference to say, like, get them expectations, just level them. I'm here coming blank canvas, going, you know what, just show me what you want to show me. You know, I don't have. I just have maybe that Bethesda conference is smaller for a reason, because I feel like we get our expectations of, like, it could be this, that, the other thing. We also have to understand that, like, the global panorama is upon us, and it has messed with a lot of plans. So,
especially the AAA studios, Joe.
Exactly. So, like, we're seeing it affect Bethesda in multiple ways as well. Again, Deathloop keeps on getting delayed because apparently Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer paid for the game to be delayed. Whatever the dumb.
I love the tinfoil hat wearing people.
Jesus. And Ghostwire as well, because Japan has been really, really messed up by it as well. So, yeah, I think I'll take a very long and bloated answer short. I don't know.
I mean, look. I think when we say smaller for Bethesda, I think that, yes, they're not as, I mean, they're big, but they're not as big as Microsoft, and I think you're onto something with that. I think we're going to see what the Austin team is working on for the people that brought us. Oh my God, what's the name of the team? You just mentioned it, Joe. Arcane. Yeah, Arcane Austin. Again, this is just rumors, folks, but I have read that their game is close to being released in early 2022. So that's a game I'm expecting to see. We don't know if Omen, which is, of course, the rumored tagline for it, it's about vampires, is a thing. Is it real? Is that it? I don't know. We will find out in a couple of weeks. But let's get VJ in on the conversation here. VJ.
I'm going to change my mic up because it's getting a little hot. One sec.
Okay, yeah, do your thing. VJ, where do you fall? Do you agree with both Archimedes and myself that Wolfenstein has been in development too long not to have it shown off at this event? And do you expect it this year, considering that it's a game that could potentially be close to being done and could easily take the place of Starfield in that October spot?
I only know, and so you might have to correct me here. So I'm understood that Machine Games are the authors, right, of Wolfenstein for some period of time. And
yes.
And I think that Youngblood, or if that was the name of the title, was released a couple of years ago.
It was in 2019. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So,
but it wasn't from Machine Games. They were only supporters. Youngblood was actually developed by Arcane Studios and Panic Button Games.
Okay, but I'm assuming that as the primary authors, they were obviously somewhat credited or had a hand in the overseeing the project, right? So, look, so there was a trailer earlier this year, and sorry, it's Indiana Jones again. So I was under the impression that Machine Games was now tasked, or have been tasked with, and they'll probably be in pre-production or full production of Indiana Jones. So I don't know, perhaps I'm wrong, so feel free to correct me. Otherwise, I suppose one of the two developers that Archimedes has just mentioned are probably tasked with Wolfenstein 3, right? So, and so my mind was, as people were talking about Wolfenstein, my mind was sort of wandering off to Machine Games and saying, is it Wolfenstein 3 or is it going to be Indiana Jones? And I know some, perhaps many, people at Machine Games, right, for the length of period that they've probably worked on the Wolfenstein IP, probably needed a refresh or something new to work on, right? And perhaps that is the case. And so your guess is as good as mine. I'm not as sort of invested into Wolfenstein, even though I know the games are in Game Pass, but there's so much other stuff to play in there at the moment. I'm kind of getting around to it, but yeah, I don't have a tremendous amount more to offer on that. But what I would say is that whatever Machine Games are working on, or the other two developers that Archimedes are working mentioned, that they are perhaps working on their own games outright rather than being support studios, if they ever were support studios. So I'm not saying that they are, but again, for me, it's always about trying to do two things at once, is to do neither well or not at all. And we've seen that in the past, right, with 343 as a good extreme case in point. And talking of 343, I'm really hoping that, I don't mean to go off topic, that it was suggested to me yesterday, it's either going to be a very pleasant outing for the game or it's going to blow us away. And I really do like that Joseph chap. I'm referring to Mr. Staten, of course, not Mr. Badbit. That
or Mr. Badbit.
Wait, can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay,
just fine.
Am I?
Yeah,
am I too high, too low? Okay, good.
No,
Also,
you're literally
happy
perfect.
birthday, Pong. I hate you and I love you. There you go.
All right. Well, I mean, listen. Right now, like any podcast, unless you're Jeff Grubb, unless you are, any of these insiders like a Clobriel, who have actually inside connections, it's really a guessing game. And I think that we've all played this pretty well. Josh, 60 and 64. Josh, let's get your opinion on Wolfenstein 3. Look, it's a game that has been in development for quite some time. Thanks to Archimedes, well represented discussion regarding it. This is the longest any of the games in the series have been in development. So we know that it could potentially be ready. Starfield, it appears that is going to be just delayed until 2022, or and we can't even say delayed because it wasn't officially announced. It won't reach us, the gamers, until sometime in 22. I think Wolfenstein 3 could be a great gap filler, considering that it's a well-received title, and it'd be another exclusive for Microsoft to sell people consoles this fall. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the things that made Bethesda look so appealing to Xbox was the amount of games that were right on the cusp of launching. Right, with Xbox needing games, that's the narrative we hear all the time. That where are the games? Bethesda has a handful of games, probably ready to come out of the oven. Wolfenstein being one of them, Starfield being another, and it makes sense. It would definitely fill that void, and it's a series they seem to really like. Bethesda seems to really like and support, and they've kept with it for basically three games. I know Youngblood's a little bit kind of just glorified DLC or whatever, but
yeah, let's forget the Youngblood. Let's not talk about that.
It's the one Wolfenstein game I didn't finish. That pretty much sums it up, Josh.
I see. I got you. So yeah, I really think it. I'm with you. I think it's going to be one of the games that we see this year. That could launch this year, and I think it's going to be one of the pivotal titles that Forza, Halo, Wolfenstein, Starfield. Maybe pushes into January, March, whatever it ends up being. Could be even holiday, whatever of 2022. I think the narrative is going to change to Xbox has too many games.
You know what? We've actually said that in joking, but I think you're really onto something, Josh. I think there's going to come a point where, outside of just their first party, I think the second party and indie communities are going to thrive because they're going to be on Xbox. And then, of course, the third-party marketing deals as well as the exclusive deals. There is actually going to come a point where you're going to have to be like, I don't honestly know what I'm going to play. And that is a great problem.
It's a fantastic problem to have. We're going to have 3-4 AAA releases each year, and in between another 5 AA games, smaller games.
And again, you know what? Listen, I there's a couple of people in here, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion, has accused me of being, Joe, can you believe this, a pony? Okay, fine.
I saw that in the chat.
I knew
and
it.
I was-
I knew it.
So listen, when look, and I say this all the time, this is an Xbox centric program.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're going to sit on your green soapbox and
Yeah.
suggest that I can't mention Sony on my show because they're the market leader and they have been doing it right, and you feel that they haven't, then you need to have your head examined and to find another podcaster to listen to, because I'm going to say what I want, A, and B, you have to tip your cap to Sony. And if what Archimedes just said, that is the Sony formula, folks. And if Microsoft is following that Sony formula, you know what? They're gonna win. We're gonna win.
If you could just like zoom in my icon for just a sec here, just I don't understand where people get off by thinking we're bought out by Sony. Me and Jim Ryan here.
Jim Ryan, welcome to the program, Jim.
Man, yeah, there's nothing bought out here. I just gave this man a blank check to sing me praises. How dare you? No, I'm only kidding. Yeah, no, isn't that silly? And then there's like another comment, it's like Xbox fanboys. So it's like you can't win either way. It's the internet. It's awful.
It's fine. Listen, the show we're an hour in. We've talked about 2 monster topics, and guess what, folks? We have an hour left, and we have more for you to sit back and enjoy. Now, listen, one of the games that I have talked about as soon as this particular Tuesday that just passed, Neon Giants: The Ascent. This is a game that I am absolutely enthralled with. Like, I cannot wait to play this game, but I was able to find some additional information that we have not covered yet. And this is a story that I pulled from the pages of GameRant.com, one of my favorite places to get news from. We now know that the Ascent pushes the quality of visuals on the Xbox Series X and S. And this is coming from a team. Now, I've been saying 14 people. From what I understand, it's 11. So whether it's 11 or 14, what they have shown is incredible. And this new story puts basically the cherry on top of this delicious banana boat sundae that I'm going to scarf down. And they had a chance to interview some of the devs over at Neon Giant. And this is what the article says. We recently spoke about the game with creative director and Neon Giant co-founder Tor Frick, and asked about the game's visuals and how the developer has used the power of the Xbox Series X for the same. Frick remarked on how the new hardware has allowed Neon Giant to, quote unquote, this is his words, push the quality upwards, while also stating that using the Unreal Engine 4 has allowed the developer to maintain as much visual parity as possible across the game's Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S versions. Now, here's a couple of quotes directly from Mr. Frick. He says this: "We have put a heavy emphasis on shaders and dynamic lighting, as well as intense VFX and physics, everything to make the world feel detailed and dynamic, with satisfying feedback for the player's actions. Blowing things up should look and sound and also feel really good. But the fast pace of the gameplay also works best at a high frame rate with low latency and high resolution crispness. On the Series X, we can thankfully do both at the same time. Working with Unreal Engine 4 allows us to maintain as much parity as possible from Xbox One all the way up to the Xbox Series X, while still pushing the quality upwards with the next generation versions." And in the same interview, Frick also spoke to us about the hardware of the Xbox Series X in general and its potential in the coming years, as well as the Xbox console exclusivity for the Ascent, which it looks like it could potentially remain an Xbox exclusive. Let's go to Joe on this. Joe, listen, this is I say this is little game. First of all, this is not going to be a little game for Xbox. I feel that not only because it's going into Xbox Game Pass, but because of its just aesthetics. It's a top-down cyberpunk shooter that allows up to 4-player co-op that's telling a story. It's a loot grind game, and it's a game made by 11 people. I think this is going to be not only one of the biggest games this summer, I would dare say that it's going to be one of the biggest games in 21. What are your thoughts on the new information about pushing the Xbox Series X to its limits potentially?
Man, I'll say this. I'm going to separate the PR jargon from what I'm seeing, from what I'm looking at. I say, of course, I'm going to tell you they're pushing the tech to the limits. If someone said, like, you know what?
We're only using half the power.
We're just a little bit. Like, it's asymmetric. What do you expect? So, like, that line beefs up the fact that how good this freaking game looks. This is one of my most anticipated games in the first half of 2021 for sure. I'm super excited that I'll be getting to play this in the next, what is it, month, right? Comes out. 2 months, July. Why did I mix those up? Anyway, nonetheless, I'm really excited to get my hands on it because it seems like the promise of Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be delivered in the Ascent. I love Diablo, asymmetric games like these, and just like it's giving me the aesthetic. Looks great. Like I'm looking at an explosion right now and just seeing the dust particles like just kick up and
it's pretty
and
incredible,
down.
dude. Like
it's really incredible. Yeah. And I talked about this about Biomutant, which is a very hit or miss game. You either love it or you're like me, you're not digging it. Where to me, the game gets lost in its scope of what it could be. Ascent seems like, from what I'm looking at right now, it understands the scope of what this game needs to be. You can have a very small team and really make some great things happen with your game if you understand the scope of it. And it seems like, from what I'm looking at here, it definitely does that. It wants to be a Diablo game. And it's like, okay, let's do it. But let's not be like any other Diablo game. Let's make it our own. And that's what I'm seeing here. So I'm super excited to play with you, play with Ains, and like Luke will be there, I guess. And just have fun with my friends playing. Yeah, he sucks. Don't worry about it. And like playing games with my friends and Luke. That's what it's all about. So this one, I'm really happy that it's coming to Game Pass. And you're right. I don't think necessarily, I think Archimedes, you said it. I don't think necessarily this game needs to be shown off at E3 because it's getting so much talk already about it. Yeah. But I wouldn't hurt either. I would like to see just one more actual, here's one more indie thing from Xbox showing off the Ascent, because this is really, I think this is going to be an indie that's going to speak to a lot of Xbox gamers. So I'm really down on this. I'm absolutely going to be picking this up on Game Pass. And who knows, if I really like it, because I play Diablo mainly on PC, I might even pick this up on Steam as well. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is going to be I think the multiplayer aspect of it is going to be so good for so many gamers that love playing with their friends and loot grinding. I'm super stoked. Archimedes, let's get your opinion on this. Now, granted, you said you don't want to see this at E3, and to some extent, I do agree with you. To a small extent, because we have seen a lot of it. I expect this particular game to certainly get some airtime with Jeff Keighley's show, and I think a lot of the smaller AA games and like for instance, I can see Tunic getting a big blowout at Jeff's show. I can see Stalker 2 potentially getting a big blowout there as well as Scorn and a few 12 minutes, because those are the games that we saw both in last May and, of course, in July. I mean, I could see Song of Iron getting some airtime. Obviously, we had Joe on the show several times, and I got a chance to talk with him, and his game looks amazing. But what are your thoughts on what the director of the game had to say about during this interview?
Yeah, just one thing to be clear. When I say I don't want it to be at the show, it's not because I'm not excited. I just think first,
exactly
like you said,
why. Okay, because you're a Sony pony.
You're a pony. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a fool. No, the other thing is these smaller games usually just get crushed during these big shows, and that's just something they don't deserve. That's why I was so happy when Xbox announced back in 2 months ago this indie showcase that turned out to be that not so good show, but the idea is obviously right, to give a proper show dedicated to smaller games where they can actually shine. But in between a Halo, a Starfield, and a Forza, it's hard to get the proper attention for the Ascent. But that being said, I'm super pumped for the game. I did a video on Monday this week. Little self-advertising here, shameless plug, but yeah, it's
plug away, my friend, plug away.
Where I summarized basically all we know about the Ascent and Psychonauts 2, because I think those are real sleeper hits. Nobody talks about them, or not many outside of the hardcore community talks about those games, and it's a potential sleeper hit. From all we know, the game is not just looks absolutely awesome. I will say something about that in a second, but it also, from the gameplay loop that we have seen, it looks like they nailed it. The co-op idea is perfectly done. It's a drop-in, drop-out co-op. When you jump into your buddy's game, you can grind with him and take your loot and everything with you. The difficulty scales depending on how many players are joining the game, and so on. And with the difficulty of also the stats of the loot. So that game is going to be awesome. It's for everyone who likes these isometric games, those looters. This is going to be an amazing game. And on the visual side, it looks fantastic. I can't believe that game has been developed by a core team of 11 people.
Crazy.
Beyond Giant. It's a super small team. Admittedly, those are all veterans from the gaming industry. They have worked on games like Gears of War. They have worked on Far Cry 3. They have worked on Call of Duty and games like that. And they are just amazing, doing great work. And that they really know their way around the Unreal Engine is something that I learned when I did the research for my video. I did not know that, but Epic Games grants developer grants to promising smaller games every year.
Yep.
That do have a promising work with the Unreal Engine. Yeah, and they were granted the Epic Award and Epic grant in 2018 because their work on the Ascent was so promising already back in 2018 that Epic just gifted them money. So yeah, I think that tells you about the quality of how they use the Unreal Engine, and when we look at it, it's insanely good looking. We have so many volumetric effects, not just with lighting, but with the fog and transparent materials. We have a lot of destruction going on in the environment, a lot of physics happening. We have dynamic lighting coming from all the weapons and explosions and everything. So it looks just fantastic. And yeah, if you want to learn more, just check my video out.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you definitely should check your videos. Very well done, dude. Of course, your videos are always super, super well produced, dude. So, I mean, listen, I expect no less from you. But, again, speaking of the Unreal Engine 5, a lot of people want to know how come we're not talking about it. We are going to talk about it. But the reason why I held off on actually talking about the Unreal Engine 5 is we're going to talk about that particular subject because it was shown running on the Xbox Series X. That's what it had on the screen, and we're going to be talking about that with Chris Gurnell, and we're going to get his opinions on what we can expect from both Fable and, of course, Hellblade 2, which have been confirmed to be using Unreal Engine 5, and I'm very excited for that. So that's when we're going to cover it Monday night. You can come tune in 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and our special guest Chris Gurnell is going to break what that means down for everyone. Obviously, he's an ex-developer, so I want his professional opinion. But let's get VJ. VJ, the Ascent from 11 people. This is one of those particular situations that when I look at it, I say that this is a studio without the game even officially being out is so incredibly well done that this is a studio that Microsoft should either snatch up and add to Xbox Game Studios, or if they want to remain independent, work with them exclusively. Like get some deals. What are your thoughts on them being able to really be one of the first games we're going to see push the Series X to its limitations potentially?
11 people, you say, Boom, right?
11 people, yes.
So what we were saying earlier in the conversation today about smaller, smarter, talented, focused and efficient teams, and I think that this studio, Neon Giant, are a superb case in point, right? Based on what we've seen so far.
Yep.
So, look, the Unreal Engine 4 is a known commodity, right? It's and we know that based on what they're basically saying is like the de facto superior version of the game will be the Series X version of the game, right? I don't know, or maybe a high-end PC. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, you get the gist of it, right? And from what I recall, Neon Giant is kind of expressing the enhancements that coincide with the Series X version of the game, and in fact, some of those features, exist in Unreal Engine 4.25, right? So the reason why I'm kind of just putting that aside is that tech and all that jazz is fine and dandy and enables devs to create, so much more to sort of enhance what they want to enhance their vision and present it to us so as to further engage our sort of ever thirsty imaginations, right? So I'm sold on the game's premise, the elements that it's portraying, and the principal foundations that it's built on. What I now wish to learn is, does the game play well? And overall, has it been conceived, designed, and technically executed to a really high level? I don't know the developer because they're obviously relatively new, right? But Xbox have obviously noticed, and this is to your point, Boom, I've obviously noticed the studio with, how can I put it, the talent, and more importantly, I would say, a team that have come from nowhere and showing intelligence and ambition. And typically, there are a lot of people in the industry you probably haven't heard of, or studios you've come across, that either have one or the other. And one without the other, then you aren't going to really make a worthwhile game, if at all, right? So, and those are just two of the facets to look out for, right? And with hindsight, obviously, I'm speaking. If I was Xbox, I'd have been spending and deploying, whatever resources I had, right, based on their own internal teams, right, to ensure that the developer, received, or Neon Giant received, the support that they needed. Obviously via Curve Digital, which I think is the publisher. So correct me if I'm wrong. And obviously, now it's an exclusive title that's caught the attention of many, and no doubt is going to propel the summer months of Xbox and Game Pass. And it was interesting because I hope it's okay to go on just a little bit more. But
yeah, sure, go ahead.
I was chatting to the Indie Gamer last week because it's one of the games he's really, really looking forward to. And it was interesting that he said that Curve Digital seemed to have leaked the release date in China via Weibo. Now, WhatsApp and Weibo, between them, have hundreds of millions of users in China. Now, I'm assuming that he was correct in what we were discussing on the show last Friday. But for me, given the sort of cyberpunk-esque vibrations the game gives off, and given the Ascent reminds me so much of the Kowloon side of Hong Kong, and the all too popular tourist site, which is the Shinjuku district of Tokyo, and even the Singaporean skyline, and not to mention the sort of large gold Buddha-inspired figure, right, which seems to sort of represent a major landmark in the game. And so I was watching the trailer, and the large figure was ever so forthrightly and prominently presented to us just 11 seconds into the recent 4K Ascent trailer. And it's by design and not by accident. And that piece de resistance, if you want to call it, or something along those lines, reminds me of the biggest Buddha in Korea, right? That sits about 110 feet tall, and he's made of bronze, I believe. And I think if you try to lift it, you'll find it's pretty heavy. But then the name. Sorry, actually, I was going to talk about the province. I've forgotten what it's called now. Perhaps Archimedes knows of it. But if you manage to stay with me so far, you can now understand why this game will resonate in China and Asia and will do well in the Far East, as long as the localization, is managed and delivered to an excellent standard, right? And there's nothing quite as jarring or immersion breaking, should I say, as poor localization. So all in all, the Ascent looks like a game destined for success worldwide, right? It's not just made for the US market or the European market and so on and so forth. And as we all know, it's going to be in Game Pass. And as I say, if it's conceived well and plays as good as it looks, then I'm sure the Ascent will do well for the developer, Neon Giant, the publisher, Curve Digital, and of course Xbox and their global gaming outreach and ambitions for the future. So that's my take on it, Boom. Whether they buy it or don't buy it, I think that, with the Idea Xbox program, with the amount of games that are coming out, I'm sure Xbox have got an analytical team there, hopefully an analytical and a combined creative team. They're keeping an eye out for up and coming developers. I'm not saying that indie game studios are up and coming. It's obviously a lot of these indie game studios have unsung, really talented developers that have got backgrounds working at AAA studios or in AAA production lines. Not necessarily that they may not have worked on great or big games, but they understand the process of making a game and how to deliver it on budget with a producer breathing down your neck. And if you've got that kind of experience behind you and then you branch off on your own, you're more than likely to make a game, and a successful game. And I think that is where these guys, and I don't know them, I'm just guessing, that's where I think that these guys sit. And I think you raised a good point there, Boom. Is it a potential opportunity for an acquisition, right? And if Take-Two can relinquish the publishing rights to Microsoft for Outer Worlds, right, and no doubt perhaps Outer Worlds 2 might be exclusive for the Xbox, I don't think Curve Digital are going to stand in the way of anything that that Microsoft perhaps want to do with this studio going forward. So that's everything for me, Boom.
No, I mean, great stuff as always. N64, Josh, let's get your opinion on this. The new information coming out of this interview was fantastic. And again, one of the biggest complaints, people want to see not upraised graphics for older games. They want newer games pushing the Xbox Series X. And we haven't had a lot of them. We've had some, sure, but this is an exclusive. And it's an exclusive game that I think is going to do very well. And now that we know that they're pushing the power of the console to get the most out of the Series X, I'm even more excited and than I was already. What are your thoughts on hearing that this small, little studio that could is pushing graphics on the Series X to potentially as far as they've gone so far?
I mean, I'm all in, right? Like who wouldn't be? I think that was a lot of the concern when they showed Infinite, is they were like, immediately everybody's first thought was the OG Xbox One and everything is holding it back. So any game that is going to allow us to see what these machines are capable of, let's go. Let's go. I'm watching gameplay right now that Game Informer put up like 6 days ago, and the game looks like a blast, right? Like I'm watching piles of concrete just get disintegrated as the machine gun lights it up, and it was just from missing shots like this. I'm almost getting Outriders vibes from this game, but in an isometric view, like just the overall like aesthetic of it. And to jump in and out with your friends, grind some loot, like, and then to have it looking just gorgeous on the Series X, Series S. I mean, let's go. I'm all in.
Yeah, it's a game that I think is going to do very well. See, and what I love about it is if you want to play the game single player, you can. If you want to take your friends on for a ride, they've confirmed that you can do both, and that's what I like. Because again, I'm not sorry to say it. I am from an old school era of gaming where I enjoy story. Of course I love multiplayer. I play all the time, but I prefer to kind of, the solo selfish experience, if you will. And I like that this game is going to give you both options. Now, obviously, one of the things that I'm going to try to do, besides doing the 4 shows, is actually game with more people from the community. Again, folks, there's only 24 hours a day and per day, and I'm limited to what I can do. But I'm certainly going to try and be definitely better with gaming with the community, because, of course, this community is something that I consider to be an extended arm of my family. And I'm looking forward to doing that in games like Halo Infinite, in games like The Ascent. But I want to move on to the next topic. And this one is just as big, folks. Listen. One of the biggest surprises for me personally, I know Archimedes, I'm going to you first on this because you were wowed just as much as I was. For last year's E3 for Xbox specifically was Avowed. This is a game that is going to scratch the first person RPG itch, and it's from one of the best RPG makers in the business. And I don't think anyone would even dare challenge me on that statement. Well, in a new story that I was able to pull, Avowed apparently, and this is coming directly from someone in the company, is in great shape and will be potentially shown, according to a leaker, at E3, but not another CGI trailer. Actually, we might see some gameplay. Now, the first-person RPG was officially revealed, like I said, during Microsoft's Xbox Series X showcase back in July of last year. Since then, information about the game has been rather scarce, and with development on most titles having been tremendously impacted in some way or another by COVID-19, the question that many people are asking is, how is Obsidian's title coming along? Well, when will Microsoft reveal more about the game? These are two big questions. Well, according to a Microsoft insider by the name of Sponger, it is believed the title is coming along quite nicely, and fans are said to get another look at the RPG later this year. In a thread about Microsoft's Xbox Game Studio, in particular, the insider posted he's a little confused about Jeff Grubb's recent recent claims that the game won't be ready for this year's E3 showcase. As a matter of fact, according to the insider, the last he heard is that the game will in fact be shown off during Microsoft's Xbox media briefing. And here are some quotes from Sponger. He says, "I need to say that I'm a little confused with Jeff's statements that Avowed will not be ready for E3, as the info that I have is still will have a trailer for our big game at E3. Quote, and Avowed will be shown this year, and the game is in great shape, almost fully on schedule, according to Sponger." He also continues, folks, "I didn't post it a week ago, as you know how things can go crazy if you post anything. Also, I don't want to speculate anything, as I know that Jeff has a great record. It could be related to planning, but the game is in good shape, and it will be shown this year. From the conversation that I had, I was convinced that it would be a gameplay trailer for E3, and now I'm even more confused." In a follow-up post, though, folks, Sponger said that he expects a late 2022, possibly early 23 release for Avowed. Boxer Bear, I got to go to you first on this. This is a game that we don't know how long it's been in development. We understand that last year, development around the industry that includes gaming and movies and film and TV and you name it have all been affected. Do you expect even a 3-minute gameplay trailer? Do you think it's ready? Can we expect to see Avowed?
I sure hope so. I've said it before. I think Avowed is my most anticipated game from the Xbox Game Studios, and it's because I'm a huge Skyrim fan. This is just one of my all-time favorite games, and Avowed is going to be Obsidian's Skyrim. There will be definitely different mechanics or something like that, but it's the same ambition than Skyrim had, coming now from Obsidian, one of the best RPG makers out there. And what Obsidian doesn't get enough credit for, they are a very reliable studio. They are becoming the studio within the Xbox organization that is just reliably pumping out games. They have multiple teams. They have great management of those teams. And so we haven't seen that in many studios, especially not in the Xbox rooster. The Coalition comes to mind. Those are also very reliable developers. Every 3 years you can rely on them to bring out a Gears game. This is really something where Obsidian shines, and now they have given the time and budget to fulfill their most ambitious game yet. Avowed was the reason why Microsoft purchased them in 2018. So in 2018, they had to have some sort of prototype of the game at least ready. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to pitch it to Microsoft. So to your point, I don't know how long the game has been in development, but we can assume it's at least 3.5 years. And admittedly, COVID has done something, but to hear that, and this is now, of course, wishful thinking, but I do hope that Sponsor, that insider, is right. Obsidian has the potential to be still on good track, probably a little delayed to the original plan, but still they are a very well managed, very well handled studio, very reliable. And something that Matt Booty said like 1 or 2 weeks ago in that French interview that he has given is that games that have been in development for a while have not been as affected by COVID as games that are very early in development. Because it's just way more difficult to create brand new ideas, concepts of gameplay and concepts of worlds and ideas and story when everyone is working from home. When you're working from home and you have to create certain assets, for instance, then you have a ton of developers just making houses, trees, whatnot. You know what I mean? And especially for games that are not as mocap heavy than some other games, like Hellblade has been probably affected a lot because it's very mocap heavy, or God of War from on the PlayStation side. Those games are very mocap heavy. They have been affected more from COVID than these open world Avowed games that are not that mocap heavy. So it could very well be that we see the game, and to bring it full circle, that's what I said earlier. It's kind of what Microsoft needs. They need to show a game like Avowed, and Obsidian, again, they have a great track record for RPGs, and now with time and budget, I can't wait to see that game. I truly hope it's true.
Yeah, that makes two of us. Joe, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Avowed is one of those Western RPGs, and we know with Microsoft having Obsidian, with Microsoft having Bethesda, In Exile, it appears they handily have the Western RPG market potentially locked down with all of these fantastic makers. This is a new IP. This was showed off last year. Again, I can't tell you how long it's been in actual development, but do you think it's possible that Sponger is onto something, that we actually might get a gameplay trailer? Because maybe, like we discussed to open the show, this is one of those games that are maybe 18 months out from release.
You know what? I mean, Archimedes is selling me on it. If this game's been in production for that long, the only thing that I would think you would do if you just got infused into the Xbox ecosystem with a whole bunch of money is probably expand on those ideas and expand your team. But that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have at least a vertical slice to kind of show people at E3. So I you know what, Archimedes, you kind of sold me here, buddy. I say, you know what, why not? Maybe we will see him at E3 after all. I'm really excited about Avowed because, we said it last year before Xbox bought Bethesda that Obsidian is out Bethesdaing Bethesda. And, seeing them with the Outer Worlds really take it to Bethesda in the way of like, we just did Fallout better than Fallout in some regards, right? That gets me really excited to see that this team understands what they want to make. They understand their vision. Remember, I just said earlier about scope. They understand it very well. So I'm really interested to see what Avowed becomes, seeing that it is already part of their previous game's lore. It's really exciting. So yeah, I'm really Obsidian and Ninja Theory consistently are my most curious and most excited studios when I hear from them about Xbox, and that's even with including Bethesda in there, because these studios were up and coming to begin with, and now they have the money to play with some really awesome ideas. So I'm all in for it.
And to add to your point, Joe, not only do they have the money, but because Microsoft has so many studios, they have the most precious thing available: time. Not to have to rush out these games that are half-baked, and they could in fact take their time. That's why Starfield, if it's delayed, okay, sure, did we all want it? But what do you want? Do you want a buggy Bethesda, or do you want a next generation ass-kicking Star adventure that that as an exclusive, right? A new IP, Todd Howard's baby, right? So I agree with you right there, and I just wanted to add that yes, time is also a huge factor, that they don't have to rush out these games, and I think that is more important than even the money, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, time is money.
And indeed, time is money. VJ, speaking of money and time, let's get your opinion on this. Where do you sit in the Avowed conversation? Do you think that it's a game that we could potentially get a small snippet of gameplay outside of the small trailer they showed us last year when they unveiled it?
You've triggered me now, Boom, on this topic. So I don't know how to tackle it exactly. Let me put it this way. Obsidian, for me at least, and you know this of me, Boom, because I've mentioned it several times, is the jewel in Xbox's crown. Talented, distinguished, celebrated, and above all, dependable. That's what I see when I look at Obsidian. I think Obsidian have managed to use their systems, processes, and foundation built over many years. And you can learn all of this. There's nothing, I'm not telling you anything exclusive here. If you're inclined to watch the no-clip documentaries, you can learn all of this and glean all of this for yourself. And together with their creative wits, which are really quite astonishingly clearly on display for everyone to witness in those videos. I'm not trying to plug no clip or anything, and I'm not sponsored by them, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, together with their sort of wits and production intellect, they've managed to stay ahead of the curve, and they've managed to survive in a boiling, smelly cauldron of unscrupulous, unsympathetic, and I would say often uncompromising publishers, Boom. And that was until Phil and the lure of or enticement of being a part of the XGS turned up, Xbox Game Studios, and all while being, as far as I can see, and this is just my perspective, you can retain your individuality and creative freedom, and more so. And I think those two, and time perhaps, and more so than superior fund availability. Again, it's just my suggestion. To answer your question in regards to what's the situation with Avowed, Avowed, based on Obsidian's track record, is more than likely than not on track. The release of the title is possibly penned for the end of next year or 2023. And again, I'm basing that on Obsidian's past record history, but more so in terms of the words that Phil spoke, which I repeat often. He's clearly said, listen, you know what, our next gen offerings, our great titles, we've only bought the studios in 2018, and going through the process of integrating all those studios, you're going to see content from us in 2022, which is fine. He's made it clear. He was clear and honest. Some people castigated him. No idea why, but that's just the society that we live in. And perhaps Jeff Grubb, I think it is you mentioned, and Sponger, correct if I've got those names wrong.
No, you got it right.
Maybe they were both correct at a specific point in time. And what I'm trying to say is that what inevitably happens is that some, if not all studios, as requested by Microsoft, I should say, or the head of the studios, is to possibly produce a trailer for the major summer events. And sometimes they're built into the schedule, and sometimes it's ad hoc and say, look, can you make this happen? In Obsidian's case, they're not a massive team, and I don't think they want to be. They're fine as they are, and if they need any more support, they can always outsource. But as I say, in Obsidian's case, given the stage of development the game is in, and I'm just surmising here, Boo, I don't know, I would hazard an educated guess that the project is in, how can I put it, in structured pieces at the moment. And just to keep it at a high level, I'm referring to art assets and codes and tools progression. And if they are in different stages of the dev cycle, I mean, if like art and code aren't lined up at the moment, and what I'm trying to say is that where the assets of where the art assets are being produced. And obviously when you're working with code, you're either recreating, creating, or refining aspects of code, right? And that make up a game or even segment of a game, as to what Mr. Badbit was saying, right? Hey, look, how about a vertical slice? And that's nice to have, right? But you need to, in order to even have a vertical slice, you need a working build of the game, and perhaps it's not possible, which means there's no captured footage, which in turn means no cut and edited gameplay footage and trailer. And that situation can change on a daily basis. That's what happens at studios, not on a weekly, not on a monthly, and not when someone, as Archimedes would say, so many rumors about, right, on the internet. And games fully come together in the last 6 to 9 months of development. And you only have to look at Halo, right? They said the game was complete. It's just a few features need to be added, but we need this time until the anniversary to polish the game, or as well, I would say, to tune the game, right? But perhaps if I am wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, a certain segment of the game was planned and hoped to be ready, like a bit like a showroom bedroom in a 36 bedroom mansion, the sort of lavish abode that Boom obviously resides in, making all these shows. but
Continue, sir.
but game development is actually fun. Quite, jokes aside, is the process of actually building a home from the ground up, and it's not quite ready till it is, if that makes sense. So in my opinion, it's far better to keep the team sort of focused and on track, if E3 and the Xbox Bethesda sort of showcase can do without Avowed. But obviously I want it to be there from a fan's perspective. But forcing an issue on a studio, and as I call it, into demo or trailer mode, as it used to be called, I don't know what it's called now, maybe it's changed, I don't know, but can impact the studio negatively and cause delays, stress and bewilderment, and fundamentally disrupt the flow and harmony of a game's development. I've seen it happen so many times, and much more smaller studios than these guys. But no doubt, you're going to have Jason Schreier, or whatever his name is, lurking in the wings, just waiting to pounce and on another E3 trailer crunch related exclusive news piece. You know where he stands on this sort of stuff, right? Because you do have to crunch to produce these things, and let's not kid ourselves, that is a fact. You saw quite clearly last year when a trailer cut from footage from a game that wasn't complete, that was missing many major features, littered with placeholders, and clearly missed the mark. And I'm referring to Halo here, Halo Infinite, right? If in case anyone's wondering what the hell I'm talking about. This is why Sponger, Jeff Grubb, and others that perhaps convey to many reactionary followers on Twitter and other places. I'm not familiar with all the social media points of access, but they know more than the average bear. I'm not talking about you, Boxing Bear, because you're a really, really cool dude. But,
thank you.
But they perhaps know some ongoings in terms of the timings, mechanics, inner workings, or moving parts, or everything in relation to the gaming industry as a whole. But the fact is, no one knows all in terms of what's about to occur. And I think you said, Boom, right, earlier on in the show, that you kind of implied that the leaks have been really well reserved or controlled or guarded this year, right, compared to previous years, right? So whether it's, all I'm trying to say, whether it's Jeff Keighley, Jason Schreier, Sponger, Jeff Grubb, Bob the Builder, or Daffy Duck, I would say, take it all with a grain of salt. Do your own research and pay them, I would say don't pay them or anyone else in life undue or excessive respect. You can still be kind and courteous at the same time, right? They have but a privileged position, and with any privileged tenure or occupation comes responsibility. Look, as a fan, Boom, I hope I'm dead wrong and Avowed is revealed and I've got egg on my face. I'm happy. I love eggs, especially egg custard tarts that my wife sometimes presents me with if I've been a good boy. And come the, and and it's there come the summer or June event, or so on and so forth. And along with Judgment and Silksong, it's just come to my mind. It's my most anticipated game at this moment in time, and that's all from me. Boom. I think I need to lie down.
Yeah, no. Well, please take a load off while we continue on with Josh. Josh, where do you sit with Avowed potentially making a big splash at the show? I mean, obviously, Sponger is someone I don't know him personally, so I don't know what his track record is. And Jeff, I know him personally, and I do know his track record. He doesn't seem to think that we're going to get it there, but I don't know. This game has been in development for quite some time. And again, going to Joe's point about, games we're going to see 12 to 18 months out, to me anyway, it feels like Avowed could be one of those games. Do you expect a gameplay trailer, even if it's only a small 2 to 3 minute snippet?
I do. I mean, we not only like, I was just doing a little bit of research, and it looks like it hasn't been too long since they were like teasing some, like, they have like some 8K trailer or something they were showing. I was just watching, and like it seems like it's I don't know, it seems fairly far along, unless I ended up watching the wrong thing or something, which could have happened. But I mean, it looked like they had plenty to show, and it could be just the other. I mean, look, if this game comes out and Wolfenstein and Halo and Forza, and we get like, I mean, how is anybody going to even care about anything else at E3 at this point? Like, Microsoft is ready to really come out of the their corner swinging.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Josh. I think you're onto something. I think that if you just mentioned a handful of games, and I think that if every one of those games have a good showing, and we get a couple of surprises, this is a potentially 9 out of 10 for an E3 presentation, and that's just talking Xbox. We haven't even really brought Bethesda into the conversation. I'm expecting this show to be absolutely mind-bending in the best way possible. I have no doubts that they're going to bring it, and I think you're onto something. I would dare say, even adding to your point, Josh, the floodgates are about to be busted open by the amount of games that they have to show, and I think that we're going to get a pretty damn good showing come June 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you know what? I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get to the topic number 5, but we actually have some time left, so I do want to kind of do that. And I want to talk about a game that I'm super stoked for, and that's Psychonauts 2. During Major Nelson's newest episode, he got a chance to sit down for about 15 minutes with Tim Schafer, and they shared a bunch of new details about Psychonauts 2. Now, granted, this is Xbox Game Pass day one. This is a multi-plat, because before they had purchased them, this was going to be coming to other consoles. From what we understand, there's only a PlayStation 4 version. There is no PlayStation 5 version for this game. Only Xbox Series X and S are getting the next gen version. Now, you can put on your tinfoil hat and consider any way you want, but I can tell you this, from the footage that was shown and what I was able to watch, I sent the video to everyone to take a look at. I'm unbelievably impressed. Now, I'm going to admit right here on the air, I never beat Psychonauts 1, but I'm going to play through it before this game releases. And as of this show, we don't know when it's going to launch. Now, I know some people in the chat and some people on social media have said that this would be a fantastic game to stealth drop at E3, and I say nay, because Ratchet and Clank is releasing on the 11th of June, which is right at the start of E3. And that game is a platformer just like, obviously, Psychonauts. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but we also have to understand that why would you release two platformers at the same time? I think it would be a bad mistake. I think that game could easily launch sometime later in the summer, potentially July or even August, and get a tremendous amount of eyes and hands on controls. I think that what Tim Schafer and those folks at Double Fine have done, from what I have seen, is something special. And I think the more people that can play this game, the better. But I just want to read what Tim Schafer, who had to say on the game specifically. He said, "We really tried to make every level with its own art style and gameplay twist, something different than all of the other levels. And it's part of the reason it takes so long to make these types of games. You never know what's going to happen. It's set inside a human mind, so we can do anything we want to do this way. It's so creatively inspiring to make a game like this, and it's also extremely fun to play." Joe, let's get to you on this first. This is a game that has been in development for a while. It is obviously Double Fine Studios was announced, I believe it was 2019, as an Xbox first party studio. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm old school. I like platformers. Where do you fall onto this, and when do you think this game is going to actually be released?
Well, first after this, I gotta skedaddle. I gotta start preparing.
Go
my
take care of business,
Dying Light
brother.
stream. But that said, when it comes to Psychonauts, I want a question for the audience and for you guys here: is the first game a back compat game?
Yes, you can play it right now on the Xbox Series X or Xbox One, and it is in Game Pass.
Yes.
I was gonna say I'm gonna give it a go because honestly, this is a game that I remember as a kid hearing the reviews. I'm gonna date myself back to like G4 when they were talking about this game and how weird it was.
It
so
was
I'm
weird,
really
like all Double Fine games. I remember it being awesome, fun. I have no idea how it aged though. I have yet to play it again.
Yeah, that's the one thing. How does this age? Because it is an original Xbox game, so you know, but hey, it could have aged gracefully like the Mass Effect 1 did. But that said, I'm really excited to see that Double Fine is making a sequel to a game that's very close and near and dear to their heart. Knowing, Ains was talking to me on Cast Co-op about it. He said that because of their acquisition, because of the buyout, they're able to put levels in, add bosses to this game that would have previously not even existed. Like they had to cut out some of this game originally because they just didn't have the funds. Because Double Fine for a while now has been kind of from one game to the next in terms of hits.
Pretty much, yes, you're correct in saying so.
So. So for them to have that safety to be so weird is really awesome to see. This is a developer that it's kind of like, to me, I look at Double Fine for Xbox as Media Molecule is for Sony, where like, I don't think they're necessarily there to be the big AAA studio that prints them a whole bunch of, money. I think they're really there to show that Xbox is ambitious. Xbox is willing to do something weird, and Xbox is willing to be artistic and go off the beaten path. And so that's what I think when I think of Psychonauts 2. This is a game that I'm definitely going to try out. I think I'm going to be jumping into it. I don't think stealth launching it was going to be a good idea. Now looking back retrospect, because you kind of want to give that game a little bit more respect to it.
I agree 100%.
So I think we'll see it sooner rather than later, but I definitely think we're going to see it like in the next coming months. Like maybe it's announced at E3 and it's out in August. Or early September. Like that would be a great time and have enough time to really pitch this game. But yeah, that said, everybody, I gotta go.
All right, brother. Enjoy.
Today's a busy day, man. So after this stream, make sure you head on over to twitch.tv/PS Trophy Room. We delayed this week's show until Friday because of all the Horizon news, and now the news coming out of the Crossplay situation. So we're going to be recording it live. We're going to be doing live reactions to Dying Light 2 and Horizon Forbidden West. So if you're all into that, again, twitch.tv/PS Trophy Room. Y'all know where to find me, at Mr. Badbat, at PS Trophy Room, all that stuff, all that out of the way. Everybody, love y'all. Stay safe.
Joe, love you, brother. Take care. We'll see you soon, bro. We'll see you tomorrow morning on Breakfast of Boom. All right, brother. All right, so let's get Archimedes' opinion on this. Archimedes, this is a game. One other thing, Gary Duddle in the chat. First of all, big shout out to him because he just reminded me that Mech Warrior is available for download in Xbox Game Pass. So I'm going to do that right after the show. But he says something that's super, super relevant and important. He says we are so short on platformers recently. And I agree with him, specifically on the Xbox. This is a big one. Where do you fall in your excitement level for as I kill two pilots with one shot in my sniper gun? How you like them apples? Where are your excitement levels for Psychonauts 2?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. I've always been a fan of the Double Fine games. They have always been so unique when it comes to humor, when it comes to gameplay. You never know what to expect with those Double Fine games. I mean, if anybody has played Brutal Legends, that game was in the first half a third-person action adventure, brawler or something. And then it turned into a real-time strategy game.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they have always been good for surprises and have something just unique to their games. And that's how I remember the first Psychonauts. I played it way back in the days on the OG Xbox. But I remember really having fun thinking this is something new, something you really don't know what to expect in the next level. And yeah, I mentioned earlier in my video that I released on Monday, where I did a full summary of all the things we know so far from Psychonauts and the Ascent. I cover both of those games in that video as the potential sleeper hits. And yeah, that's what I think it will be. It is a sleeper hit. Not many are that familiar because it's like, what now, 15 years or something?
It's up there, dude. Yeah.
16 years that the first one is out now. So many haven't played it, obviously, and are not familiar with the franchise. But it is a good platformer. But it's not just a platformer. It's also a story-focused game. Tim Schafer also explained that a little bit in the Major Nelson podcast. That the game is a narrative-driven game, and you don't have that often in platformers. So just like the first game, there will be a story that matters actually, and yeah, there will be a lot of diverse gameplay elements. Also, the guy from Game Informer, I forgot his name, Ben something, who was at Double Fine and had the chance to play the game, also talked about that every level just feels unique, and that is why I'm so excited for it. Regarding the release window, I'm also in the ballpark of that being a stealth drop at E3, to be honest.
Okay.
The thing really is, if you think about it, these smaller AA games, which Psychonauts is, I consider that a AA game. Doesn't mean that it's bad. Yeah, please don't understand. Well, it's a AA game. It started out as a Kickstarter game, and we have a lot of other smaller games coming in the Xbox realm. The Ascent is coming end of July. We know that Scorn has to come out somewhere, and we know about the Gunk. We know about 9 Minutes, Song of Iron. There are so many of these smaller experiences that are coming out this year. And the question really becomes now, when is a good time to launch? Because for a game like Psychonauts 2 to launch in September, October, November, not a good idea. Not a good idea. Then they should rather now launch next to Ratchet and Clank. And then we have July already with a couple of releases, and August, yeah, Scorn, Crossfire, we don't know. Yeah, but there's so much to come. So when is a good time? And it would probably be really a good thing for Microsoft to have one of those stealth drop moments where where Phil just says, and you can download the game right now.
Yeah.
And with that, they kick, whether it be Psychonauts 2 or any of the other games, but it would be a good thing, even though 2 days earlier Ratchet launched. That the gaming space is big enough that we can handle 2 launches within 2 days. I'm not concerned there. The thing really is, Microsoft wants to kick off with E3 that continuous stream of content that is coming to Game Pass. And what better way to do that with such a stealth drop of one of your first-party studios, and Psychonauts is out now. And I hope I'm right, because I can't wait to play the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. VJ, let's get your opinion on this before we get everyone out of here as we close in on the 2-hour mark.
Sure.
Psychonauts 2 is a game that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. Psychonauts 1 currently available on Xbox Game Pass with some visual enhancements, which is fantastic on the lead up to the release. I'm in the mind of I don't know if I would put this up directly against a Ratchet and Clank, but we do have confirmation that Xbox is going to be doing some Game Pass releases during E3 to surprise the fans. This, in fact, could definitely be one of them. Where do you fall on the excitement level for a story-driven, well-designed platformer from this developer?
It's interesting. Just before I answer your question, Boom, it's and I don't want to get myself into trouble here, but Joe and Archimedes' sort of use of AAA and AA kind of just pinged a thought in my head, right? Because I kind of feel that the categorization of a AAA, AA, A, B, C, D is kind of unfairly or frivolously, should I say, banded about, right? I mean, when you're referring to that, it's going to mean different things to different people. And this is in relation to Tim, right? Because is it the location and the history of the company is why you're giving that? Is it the team and the talent? Is it the producer or vision holder? Is it the budget? Is it the concept? Game of the year contender? How many awards it's achieved or it will achieve? Its ROI? Or is it about how it engages and entertains you on a personal level, or what it means to each of us on a soulful level? So, for me, something like a categorization or a label or a brand or whatever you want to call it, right? It's something that is earned or awarded once the game is released. And it is subjective or an objective based on your own personal list of criteria or how we vote as individuals or as a community. So I wanted to just get that out there because it kind of does relate to Tim and other studios of this ilk, right? Because we've talked about it on the show. We never know where the next big thing is going to come from, right? So what I gather or understand from Tim's comments, Psychonauts 2, I hope I've got that right, is that, and actually observing him a few times as well, because he seems to be out and about in a few interviews here and there. So is that his game design process has evolved, and for him to sell his vision, his vision for Psychonauts 2, obviously, his vision, narrative, gameplay, and overarching experience to a modern day audience, he's taken some of what people still love about his previous games and involved all the other facets up to modern day standards and beyond. By being a part of XGS, he's hoping that his latest brainchild, no pun intended there, well, it was, but anyway, will hopefully, I'm sorry, Boom, you can reprimand me after the show. Will hopefully, sort of dazzle, hypnotize, and entrance this generation of Xbox gamers. And again, he's been afforded the opportunity via Xbox and XGS and Phil, and by default Game Pass, right? Which he's thankful and very grateful for. So that's what I'm gleaning from what he's saying. Tim seems to have his finger on the pulse, like all blessed designers, right? In the sense that he knows how to fundamentally drive a player forward, especially, as I say, when it comes to humorous storytelling and incredibly imaginative, if not sometimes alien worlds. And I'm assuming that's why you refer to Ratchet and Clank, right? Not to sort of compare their production values and team sizes, because that's irrelevant, right? Because you can't compare them, and they're coming from two completely different sources, right? And what I mean sources, I mean creative directors, right? They're different, right? So your show notes evoked and inspired thoughts of the Mario Odyssey experience. I don't know why. That's just what came to me, Boom. I can't help it. And if it's anywhere near that in terms of its essence and spirit, and again, essence and spirit in relation to what Ratchet and Clank will offer PlayStation 5 owners or whoever wants to play that game, then many of us, I believe, are in for a treat. Tim, for me, looking at him and listening to him, has the experience. And more importantly, Boom, he still has that young sort of exuberance, passion, and spritefulness, right? Which I often wake up in the morning and figure out where mine's gone. But anyway, I'm on the show, so I have to do that. But I'm talking about the sprightliness for creating games, right? You could see it quite plainly when he stepped out on that stage back in 2019, completely left field. I think it was 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's so many.
Yeah, it was 2019.
There's so many announcements. There's so many announcements. I lose track. So I always often defer to you to put me in my place. But look, he's been around the block, and I wish him luck, and I hope he's cracked the combination of whatever he's striving for. When will it arrive in Game Pass? Perhaps this summer at the earliest. If not, then I would say keep going, Tim. Everything we need comes to us at the perfect time. It's not as if we're short or starved of entertainment right now, Boom, right? And I think everyone can agree to that.
I agree, 100%.
Amount of people complain about their back catalogue. It's numbing sometimes. However, in Tim's case, he knows that we are often, even though we have plenty, we are often starved of creative fire and that passion and that energy. And that's what Psychonauts 2 is all about. And that's what he's trying to tell you. Maybe he hasn't done it in the best possible way, but if you can harness or understand what I'm trying to say, I think you can kind of connect with where I'm coming from. I hope you do. If not,
no, absolutely, no. You knocked it out of the park once again. I think you really bring a sensibility to the conversation, and that's why we love having you on here. So, Josh, let's get your final opinion, and then we'll do everyone's outros. Josh, this is one of the games. We heard Phil Spencer talk about he wants to celebrate family content on the Xbox, and one of the things that they are lacking are platformers, and until I get my freaking Banjo Kazooie, I'm still going to be banging this drum. But this is another platformer. I'm excited because I'm an old school cat. Where do you fall with the newest interview and what the video I had sent you to take a look at? Is Psychonauts 2 on your radar?
I have to back up first to the Avowed little segment for a second.
Yeah, sure.
And the video that I found, it says Avowed concept gameplay 2021 8K. It has nothing to, it's like somebody pitching something hoping that they see it. It's not actual gameplay. So this is what I get for watching a video muted and trying to skip ahead just to see the actual gameplay. At the beginning, it's like, this is not this is not. So there we go.
I'm a little relieved because I actually thought I missed something.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you guys are talking about these games, I'm trying to watch them and get, just get a better understanding of them, and if in case there's things I missed, or I remember seeing all these things back at presentations, but just wanting a refresher. And so I was like, I'm watching this thing going, wait a minute, that looks a lot like the Shadow of the Colossus. I was like, but it was cuts. They were so fast that I was like, man, this game looks incredible. It's like a cut of all the best games put together. So please disregard everything I said, other than if it comes out, like, hell yes, I'm excited. Psychonauts. This is a game that I have. It's really not a game that's on my radar. A lot of games that maybe lean towards being, I don't know, if you want to say kind of weird or kind of artistic in a way, they're not games that usually resonate well with me. I love my shooters. I love Mario Kart. I mean, those are kind of like, I love fighting games, things like that. That being said, listening to the stuff that Joe was talking about the fact that there's more money for them to do more of what they want, that to me is one of the best things I can hear. Because even if it's not a game for me, to find out that the artist finds more paint for his painting or a larger canvas, I love hearing that. And for those that are fans of this series, I want them to see the best game they can get from the mind of Tim Schafer. That being said, I'm also a lot of I was never a fan of JRPGs, right? That has since changed. And so I'm going to go back. I'm going to try the first game, especially since it's available to me, and give it a go. And as far as platformers on the Xbox, I mean, there's one platformer in particular that I'm so glad is still available, and that's Braid. And it's a game I've been wanting to see get some more love, like maybe thrown onto the Switch or something like that. But as far as the Xbox itself, like, yes, we need more platformers there. No doubt about it.
Well, I'm happy to say that this is another one. I think it's going to be a game that people are going to want to download and try. I think it's going to be a big, successful game for Tim Schafer and that team at Double Fine. They're one of those teams, and I'm glad that Microsoft acquired. I think that they have a lot of more stories to tell with the unique way that Tim Schafer can tell these stories. I'm super stoked. But folks, this has been one hell of a 2-hour show, and we got to all 5 topics once again, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, folks, we had almost 500 people here today. That's freaking awesome. And if you are one of those near 500 people, hit the like button. Let's get some likes up. Of course, I would also appreciate if you could share this on social media, get people to check out Double Barrel Gaming. Lots of content is coming in the coming weeks, especially during the E3 week. I'm going to be doing live streams, I believe, almost every day. And we're going to kick it off with the Sunday coverage of the Xbox conference, Xbox Bethesda conference, and hopefully you'll tune in for that. But let's get to the outros. You already know where to find Mr. Badbit, Boxenberger, Archimedes, and now, of course, Boxer Bear. Where could people check out your latest awesome video, and where could people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. You know, it's always a blast to be here, talk games with the amazing panel, with the amazing chat. It's just so much fun to be here. Yeah, people can find me basically everywhere at Boxenberger on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, and of course here on YouTube, where I have my small but growing YouTube channel. I upload about 1 or 2 videos per week. Actually, this week it was 2. I did on Monday a video rounding up all the things we know about the Ascent and Psychonauts 2. And just earlier this day, I released a video on the Unreal Engine 5 demo and explaining a little bit the technology that went into the Unreal Engine 5 and what it means for games and the upcoming generation. I'm trying to explain that technical presentation a little bit more in understandable words. And yeah, if you're into that kind of content, definitely check my channel out. But Boom, thanks again for having me. It's been a blast with VJ, Joe, and for the first time, Josh. It's been awesome chatting with you. So yeah, thanks again and see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Big shout out to the Indie Gamer. How Indie? Hopefully you're doing well. We got to get you back on the program soon enough. But thanks for being here as always. VJ, let's get your outro, brother. What you got going on? And more importantly, where could people strike up a very interesting conversation with you on social media?
I think people have enough of me on this channel, Boom, let alone interact me on Twitter. So, but Archimedes, I just wanted to say total respect for your excellent opinions. They help me bounce off you, and you do yourself a disservice. Small channel, but incredibly valuable channel, I would say. Josh, Josh, really good to see you again on the show. Happy birthday to Pong Soul, and Boom, just want to say thanks for having me on again. Apologies to you and the panel and the community in the chat if I spoke periods of time.
This is a conversational podcast, brother. There is no time limit, and we're always interested to hear what you have to say.
I know I always kind of seem to go off topic recently. I don't know what's wrong with me, but anyway, I'm looking forward to E3. Can't wait to cover it with you, sir. And thank you so much again for having me as part of the show.
No problem, brother. And we'll definitely see you during that event. Obviously, we'll be looking forward to hearing your opinion. Josh, N64, how the heck are you? And more importantly, brother, where could people check out your unbelievable amount of content you got going on for your YouTube and Twitch channels?
Yeah, so everywhere is N64 Josh. Everywhere. I've got the .com, YouTube, TikTok, everything. Everything's N64 Josh. Twitch streams, and then we're doing Xbox Now as just kind of a separate entity, so I can keep the Nintendo and the Xbox content separate. That sometimes they don't get along, you know. So so yeah, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Being able to hang out with you guys is I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for that, and we'll keep rolling on to E3.
Yeah, real quick, Starvos Zaras in the chat says, any plans for Boom to live stream the Xbox show? Yes, dude, we're doing a watch stream, as the kids are calling it, as it happens live. You'll be able to come to this channel, Double Barrel Gaming, watch it live on the air, listen to not only the show, but our live reactions. And as soon as the show is done, we're going to segue into a 30-minute reaction panel. Our show is going to be about a little bit over 2 hours, but we're going to get everyone's opinion. And thanks for asking. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel, brother, definitely subscribe and check it out, because we're going to be doing lots of big coverage E3 week on this channel. I think I'm going to be streaming almost every day just to be talking about, and not just Xbox. We'll be talking PlayStation, we'll be talking Nintendo, and of course, we'll be talking third party. But everyone, I want to say thank you so much for the support. I just want to remind everybody the changes that Mrs. Boomstick and I needed to have done for the channel have been approved by YouTube, and the channel is now a brand channel, and super chats, super stickers, and channel membership will be reintroduced on the Tuesday show, which of Xbox Factor podcast, which is going to be next week, and that is June 1st. Yeah, I was hoping to get everything done before E3 because, you know, obviously we had to make some changes and we had to get approved by by YouTube to become a branded channel, not just a personal channel. So we had to pause things for a bit, but everything has been approved and everything will be back to normal. So if you want to continue to support Double Barrel Gaming, that we would tremendously appreciate it, and everything that you have done before will be you'll be able to do again as of June 1st. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Boom.
Yes, sir.
There's some breaking news.
Okay.
Horse Club Adventures now available on Game Pass. Or on
You know
Xbox
what?
One and
Wow.
Series X.
You know what? That is some breaking news. Horse Club Adventures.
Not Game Pass. I'm sorry, but it's on Xbox. Just want to throw that out.
You know what? Listen. I think that's bigger than Halo news, to be honest with you. I mean, that's potentially bigger than Randall Thor playing Barbie Horse. I think it was he got 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements for that horse adventure. Thanks for that, Josh. Definitely appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anyway, listen, everyone, enjoy your Thursday. Tune in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the new episode of Breakfast with Boom. We're going to be covering everything that went on today: Dying Light 2, the Sonic coverage, Horizon Forbidden West, and I believe there's a Virtual Fighter stream, Virtual Fighter 5 getting an upgrade, and that's going into PlayStation Plus for the month. It's a free game that you'll be able to download. I'm a big Virtual Fighter fan. I'm looking forward to that. And of course, I will be there tomorrow morning. Hopefully you will be there as well. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that our dad taught us when we were kids. And I think now more than ever, it's super important, but more importantly, relevant. He said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.